Hi, Ethan. How are you? This is Gonzalo Lira from El Heraldo in Mexico.
Oh, great to meet you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for yours. I see that you have your own movie poster behind you.
Yeah.
I watched that movie at the Morelia Film Festival a couple of years ago.
Oh,
I
cool.
really like it. Tell me something, Ethan. I know you've worked before with Richard, and this kind of projects that you've done with him rely a lot on dialogue. Rely a lot on how characters' thoughts are conveying to words and they express what they're feeling. So I want to ask you: did you feel prepared for this role? Did that help to prepare for this role, or this was a completely different adventure since you're playing someone that actually existed?
Both aspects of that question are true. One is that the greatest preparation for this role for me was the Before trilogy. I mean, that's really where I learned to, those movies rely wildly on dialogue as well. Linklater is really one of the few filmmakers I can think of that really embrace dialogue as part of the toolkit of cinema. A lot of directors get bored with characters talking, and Rick just loves it and sees it as the stuff of life and as a valuable tool in the kit, in the language of cinema. And so those movies were how I learned to talk in front of the camera. Blue Moon was a totally different ask. It's period, it's set in the 40s. It's a real person. It was a real event. There really was an opening night party. I mean, there's so many, it's exact real time. Once Larry walks into that party, each set you never deviate. There's no the movie will not be made in the editing room. You can't change the order of the scenes. You know that you can't cut away. Every moment had to be meticulously organized. It required a tremendous amount of rehearsal. A lot of it was building off things Rick and I had learned over the years. But then this was asking just a little bit more of us.
Something that caught my attention is the character is charismatic. He's very charismatic, but he's not necessarily the kind of guy that you enjoy company all the time. He's not sympathetic. Although he's charismatic, I don't know how did you convey those two things? Did you
Oh,
have many conversations about that?
it's extremely complicated character to play because he's very interesting, but I'm not sure you'd want to be seated next to him at a bar.
Exactly.
And you would find him compelling and you'd want to go away, and the energy of the movie rests in that restless spirit. He's a heartbroken person. And a lot of us don't want to look at people that are heartbroken. It's hard to stare at them. But the value of Rick's camera is that it has a tremendous amount of love for broken people.
And another thing that I was thinking about as I was watching the movie is how it gives us context about how things have changed regarding how we communicate, how we interact, the kind of relationships that we have. Many of the things that the character says or does could be condemned nowadays. How important is it for you to use cinema as a vehicle for context, for historical context, and for use that historical context to understand where we're standing at as human beings?
I mean, it's a great question because ultimately I think the truth is always our friend. And one of the things that's wonderful about movies is the ability to go back in time that you can have a group of people, filmmakers, costume designers, set designers, cinematographers, actors, musicians going, we're going to have a collective imagination and we're going to take you to 1943 and we'll take the audience back. And the more truthful that experience is, if you don't put today's political agenda on it. And the inverse is true too. One of my favorite things in movies is really great science fiction. Take me to the future. Do your best. Show me what it's going to look like in your mind. And the less you have a political agenda with it, and the more you kind of just tell the truth as you see it, the more valuable I think it is for the audience.
But part of telling that truth also has to do with making people uncomfortable, with not acting or not playing it as to be liked. And this character, I think that puts you in that situation. Do you still enjoy that? What part of you, wakes up when you're doing this kind of character?
I really enjoy it. I enjoy making people uncomfortable. If it's to a positive end, because a lot of that discomfort is caused by our own sense of fragility. We're not so fragile. I mean, it's also important to understand we're all deeply upset about certain political events that are happening right now, but they were upset in the past too. And there's a lot of ways that the past was a lot worse than it is today. You know, when you look at women, the racism in the past and women's rights in the past, and a lot of this was a lot worse than it is today, as bad as it is today. And so taking people back in time and letting them see what it was like, positives and negatives.
The film structure is a lot like watching a play. You said that part of how you do these characters, you learned it from working with Richard Linklater. So I wanted to ask you how much also from your chops as an actor helped, you know, to build this character, to do it as a theater play, but still make it cinematic. I don't know if I can get my idea through it.
The amount of verbiage in the movie, just the amount of text, I'm talking nonstop. But once you've played Hamlet and Macbeth and these other parts, it's not that many lines. It's not scary to me, the amount of dialogue. And I have the muscle memory to approach that. When you're doing theater, you learn how to stage scenes dynamically. In a lot of movies, you don't ever have to worry about blocking or staging a scene because the camera is always changing angles and doing this. But Rick and I had to spend a lot of energy just thinking about how the room moved. How are people moving? How are the actors moving? When are we moving? Where are we going? When do we sit still? What's believable? What's not believable? What creates dynamics? What makes it boring? You know, and so that dance between realism and entertainment.
And you handle it so well.
Thank you.
Ethan,
I learned a lot of that in the theater.
yeah, I guess so. Ethan, I hope this is not the last time I see you with Richard. I love everything that you do, and this is not an exception. Thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, thanks for your time, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.